Getting started keeping bees is a lot of work, a lot to learn, a lot to buy, a lot to do. So this is your 2-month before you get your bees checklist so that you are ready and you know what you need. There's a checklist for you to download. The link is in the video description. So let's get started. The first thing you're going to want to do is make sure you have all your equipment ready. You're going to want a suit or a jacket, a veil, beekeeping gloves. You want all of your equipment. 1 beehive for every colony of bees you plan to keep. You want, if you're keeping a Langstroth style hive, a bottom board, screened or solid, 3 boxes, 1 inner cover, this guy, and 1 telescoping outer cover, fancy word for a lid, 1 mouse guard, and 1 transducer. You can make one of these, but make sure it's out of metal, not wood, and you don't need them until later on in the season, but you need your entrance reducer when you install your bees. You want frames for your boxes, 10 frames for a 10-frame hive, and 8 frames in the 8-frame boxes. And this is optional, but you can put foundation in your frames. Make sure the foundation is the right size for your frames, and your frames are the right size for your boxes. You want at least 3 hive tools. Get a few more if you tend to lose your tools or you're going to have your bees in tall grass. And just a heads up, if you get one of these when you are buying a beekeeping kit, do not use it for a mite test. It is not accurate. You do not need a queen excluder for every single hive, but it's good to have 1 or 2 on hand. It's always good to have some extras. Most beehives will probably only need those 2 deep boxes plus a honey super on top, but it's good to have a couple of extra honey supers on hand just in case 1 or 2 of your hives do really well and they bring in lots of honey. It's also good to have 1 extra deep box on hand, and that's in case your bees swarm or you want to split them. You have somewhere to put them. You don't need to buy all of this extra equipment. You can just buy 1 extra deep box plus the frames to go in that deep box and foundation. And if needed, just go to a hardware store and get a sheet of 3/4 inch plywood and you cut it down to about the size of your outer lid or inner cover. They're about the same size. And you can use 1 sheet of plywood as a lid and 1 sheet of plywood you put on the bottom as a bottom board. Just make sure you drill a 3/4 inch hole right here so the bees have an entrance. Don't forget your smoker and smoker fuel. You need 2 different kinds of smoker fuel. 1 that lights really easily, like dryer lint and egg cartons, not the plastic kind, and 1 that burns a little bit slower, like the bark of a tree, pine needles, or you can buy smoker pellets from a supply site. Next, don't forget to buy your bees. You want to buy either a nuke or a package. Get a marked queen so that you can spot her easily. Do not have your bees shipped, and don't worry too much about genetics. It's better to buy bees locally that have overwintered in your climate than to get a bee that was bred for specific genetics. Next, there are the things to learn. There's a lot to learn when you're getting started beekeeping, and you don't need to know it all before your bees arrive. But that month or 2 before your bees come, this is what you really need to learn. 1, you need to understand how the hive works, the role of the queen and the workers and the drones, and how to spot the queen, the workers, and the drones. You should also learn how to spot eggs and what the different stages of bees developing before they hatch look like. You should also be able to identify some of the major pests in your area, which is probably wax moth, small hive beetle, and varroa mite. You should look into how to inspect a beehive and what you are going to be looking for when you open it. Download my inspection sheet down in the video description below. It's totally free. I also have an ID guide. You can download that totally free as well. You also want to learn how to install bees into your hive so that you have everything you need ready and waiting for your day when you pick them up. A month before your bees arrive, this is when you really should have your location set up. You should have a hive stand that elevates your beehive at least 12 inches off the ground. And you want the area that your bees are going to be on to be level. Either level the hive stand or level the ground. And this is to prevent the bees from building honeycomb that crosses over frames. Make sure your hives are in an area that you can get to easily, either by foot or by car. You want to be able to get out to your beehives even when it's lots of snow on the ground, and you want to be able to carry a 35-pound box full of honey back to your home or car or wherever you're going to be harvesting. You want to assemble all your equipment and paint it at least a month before your bees arrive so that it can air out. You want to just paint the outside of the equipment, not the inside, and use exterior paint. If you're buying a package of bees, you'll also want a spray bottle. You will want dry white sugar to feed the bees when they first arrive, and you will need a feeder for each beehive. You're also going to want to take notes, so you're going to need a device for note taking. That can be a binder with a nice plastic cover with your inspection sheets printed out for you to fill out and your ID guide in there and some pens, or you can have everything on your phone. I am just going to warn you, your phone is probably going to get sticky. Speaking of sticky phones, it's always nice to have a tripod. Those little ones that you can put on the beehive next to it is always great so that you can take photos and videos when you're out with the bees. Not just when you want to take a cool video to post to Facebook, but if there's a problem, then you can take a picture and you can send it to me or whoever is the mentor or the person you're talking to about your beekeeping problems. This is not necessary, but make sure you have a backup location for your bees so that if something happens, you can move them. The week your bees are going to arrive, that is when you want to just try out your bee suit, your gloves, your veil. Make sure you know how to put it on. The ones with the strings can be a little bit tricky. Make your syrup. Get your feeders ready. Have your equipment assembled and outside and ready for the bees. Also, check the weather so that you have a plan for what to do if it is too rainy, snowy, windy, for you to be able to install your bees when they arrive that day. Now, you don't need to know this for when your bees arrive, but that first month that you get your bees, you want to have a plan for varroa mites. You want to know how to do a mite test and how to keep varroa mites level low. It's best to be proactive, not reactive. You also want to learn how to prevent swarming and when to add a box, when to add room to your beehive, whether that is boxes or moving that follower board. I know this is a lot of information and it can be a little overwhelming when getting started beekeeping, and there's the fear that you're going to harm the bees or they're not going to survive. And I can't stress enough that the most important thing you can be for your bees is observant. It is more important for you to spend 20 minutes every couple days outside your hive watching them come and go, seeing if they have pollen on their legs, if they're passing nectar off to each other at the entrance. Listen to their buzzing sound and how it changes. Watch how the activity changes. That will tell you more about what's going on in your hive and what you should do than watching 20 minutes of YouTube videos that day. And don't forget to check your bees. Give them a couple weeks when you first install them to get used to the hive and to get established. But after that, open them up. Don't be afraid to open them up every 7 days and check on them and see how they're doing. Keep your hive inspection to 20 minutes or less. Don't open it up if it is below 65 degrees Fahrenheit out. You want a sunny day, not too windy, and you don't want to leave your brood frames outside to get too cold. But check on them, pull frames out, get used to queen spotting, make it a priority to get used to spotting the queen, watch the bees, listen to their buzzing. Beekeeping is not an easy hobby to get into, but it can be incredibly rewarding. It forces you to slow down. It forces you to be an observer in someone else's world. Your goal is to help them to figure out what they're trying to do, what's going on in the environment, and how can you help them achieve these goals. It is not to get them to do what you want them to do. You leave them to their own devices, and maybe in the end you get to take a little bit of honey. If that sounds like fun for you, then have fun as a beekeeper. Do not stress. It will be okay. Don't forget to check out my online beekeeping class at beekeepingmadesimple.com. You can watch for free the first month, and after that it's just $19, and I go through all of these tasks, equipment, things you need to learn, pest management, dealing with varroa mites, inspecting your hives, and more. And plus you have me to contact directly when you have questions. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Beekeeping is the most important thing. I just want to say one thing really fast, and then you guys can be noisy, okay? I just have 2 minutes. Shh. 2 minutes. Shh.